Many come to the Sufi shrine of Sheikh Burhanuddin Gharib in Khuldabad of Aurangabad, Maharashtra. Here lies the grave of the 6th Mughal Emperor Alamgir Aurangzeb. A rigid Muslim who denounced opulence lies in an open-air grave that belies his majestic stature. Of the man who spread the Mughal Empire way beyond his predecessors to rule over nearly all of the Indian subcontinent. It has been a peaceful resting place for the man who hardly rested while he was alive. He was a suspicious, conniving but astute politician and an emperor for nearly half a century. That peace is shattered. On the 12th of May 2020, the All India Majlis-e-Ittehadul Muslimeen, or the AIMIM's party leader Asaduddin Owaisi came calling. He paid his tribute to the Mughal emperor and started a noise that sounds loud enough to shatter the peace of a graveyard. He adds the perfect color to the communally polarized electoral politics of Maharashtra's Marathwada region in general and Aurangabad in particular.
Hello and welcome to our special episode, The Aurangzeb War. I am Sahil Joshi. The fight over AIMIM leader Asaduddin Owaisi's recent visit to Aurangzeb's tomb in Aurangabad city in Maharashtra has raised political storm in the state. BJP, smelling political opportunity, have not only slammed Asaduddin Owaisi but also took pot shots at Uddhav Thackeray government and specifically Shiv Sena over its stance on Aurangzeb and the whole controversy, where Sharad Pawar have called it a deliberate attempt to create political controversy in the state. Here is more.
अरे ओवैसी सुन ले, कुत्ता भी ना पेशाब करेगा औरंगजेब की पहचान पर.
Former Maharashtra CM Devendra Fadnavis declaring war over Mughal ruler Aurangzeb. Targeting Owaisi Jr. Akbaruddin, who recently offered prayers at the tomb of the Mughal ruler in Aurangabad. Indirectly targeting the Uddhav government for allowing what BJP says worship of a tyrant who persecuted Hindus and broke their temples. Fadnavis mocked Uddhav government, saying it should be ashamed of its stand on Aurangzeb.
औरंगजेब की समाधि पर वो असदुद्दीन ओवैसी जाता है और माथा टेकता है और तुम देखते रह जाते हो. अरे ओवैसी सुन ले, कुत्ता भी ना पेशाब करेगा औरंगजेब की पहचान पर. अब जो भगवा लहराएगा पूरे हिंदुस्तान पर.
देश में औरंगजेब के नाम पे सड़क, तो बाबर के नाम पर, किसके किसके नाम पर. ये आक्रांता थे. आक्रांताओं की निशानी को उसी समय मिटा देना चाहिए.
The Aurangzeb jibes on the Uddhav government continued, with top Sena baiter and Amravati MP Navneet Rana opening up a barrage of attacks.
यही बाला साहब ठाकरे रहते तो उसी मजार के अंदर, उसी कब्र में उस व्यक्ति को गाड़ के दिखाते कि हिंदुत्ववादी और छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज को मानने वाले लोग आज भी महाराष्ट्र में जिंदा है. एंड दैट उद्धव ठाकरे हैज नॉट स्पोकन a single word on this.
Slamming Fadnavis for his provocative remarks, Srinagar's mayor entered the controversy and paid glowing tributes to Aurangzeb. PDP chief Mehbooba echoed the sentiment.
हमारे मुल्क में जो टूरिज्म है 50% तो इस वजह से आता है जो मुगलों ने हमारे यहाँ अपने असासात बनाए हैं, अपने तामीरात किए हैं, उसको देखने के लिए आते हैं. 50% लोग हमारे मुल्क में सिर्फ ताजमहल देखने को आते हैं.
The BJP is trying to upstage the Shiv Sena-led government, calling it soft on those glorifying the Mughal emperor, who killed Chhatrapati Shivaji's son Sambhaji Maharaj, and imposed religious taxes like jizya on Hindus.
Fadnavis said the MVA government has nothing but only resorted to Mafia Raj in this country. This comes in the wake of the upcoming BMC elections, which will happen in October this year.
With Devamish Kotak, Bureau Report.
The war over Aurangzeb has raised questions over the tainted legacy of the Mughal ruler. What's the issue? The history of protests against Aurangzeb's legacy. Listen in to this report for all your queries.
The brave, valiant Maratha king Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, revered as a god in Maharashtra. and his biggest nemesis was Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. Asaduddin Owaisi's visit to Aurangzeb's tomb this month has touched a raw nerve in Maharashtra, and it has exploded into a full-blown political showdown over the Mughal Emperor.
ओवैसी सुन ले, कुत्ता भी ना पेशाब करेगा औरंगजेब की पहचान पर, अब जो भगवा लहराएगा पूरे हिंदुस्तान पर।
औरंगजेब कोई महान सूफी संत नहीं था, कोई कुछ भी कहे, वो एक आक्रामक था। लेकिन आप महाराष्ट्र में आकर उसी औरंगजेब के कब्र के ऊपर बैठेंगे और नमाज पढ़ोगे या और कुछ आपकी रस्में करेंगे, तो ये महाराष्ट्र को चैलेंज देने की बात है।
So why has a visit to the tomb of a Mughal ruler triggered such sharp reactions? Well, it's because Aurangzeb, for aeons, has been enemy number one for Marathas. Shivaji Maharaj is the epitome of Maratha pride and valor. Aurangzeb symbolizes the exact opposite for the Maratha population, and his rivalry with Shivaji Maharaj in the 17th century is dominating political headlines even today.
औरंगजेबाने जी पत्र पाठवलेली आहेत ना, ती जी पत्र पाठवलेली आहेत त्या पत्रामध्ये तो कोणाचाही उल्लेख नाही करत, त्या पत्रामध्ये फक्त उल्लेख करतोय शिवाजी अजून मला छळतोय. तो वेडा नव्हता, खुळा नव्हता. त्या औरंगजेबाला फक्त कळलं होतं की शिवाजी व्यक्ती नाहीये, शिवाजी हा विचार आहे.
The clash of the Titan rulers has been well documented in history, as Mughal rulers, particularly Aurangzeb, tried hard to make the Marathas kneel. The city of Aurangabad, named after Aurangzeb, has been at the heart of a name change controversy for years now for this precise reason. In 1988, Shiv Sena Supremo, the late Balasaheb Thackeray, announced the renaming of the city to Sambhaji Nagar after Sambhaji, the son of Shivaji, who was tortured and killed by Aurangzeb. 30 years on, the Shiv Sena is yet to make this a reality.
We believe in Sambhaji Maharaj, we don't believe in Aurangzeb. The enemy of Maharashtra, we don't believe in them. और ये नाम change होना चाहिए, इनके ही एजेंडे में था. They have only spoken कि we'll change this name to Sambhaji Maharaj.
The showdown over Aurangzeb has been rekindled, and perhaps is a script we'll see play out time and again. It is, after all, the perfect recipe for the likes of the BJP and MNS to pile pressure on the ruling Shiv Sena. Bureau Report, India Today.
It's not only BJP, but also Raj Thackeray's MNS is targeting Uddhav government over this controversy. But in an exclusive interview with India Today, Amravati MP Navneet Rana launched a scathing attack on Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, including over the name of the Aurangabad city. The Amravati MP demanded that the name be changed to Sambhaji Nagar. Please understand, this very demand was made by Shiv Sena when Shiv Sena was setting its foot in Aurangabad city. Listen in to what Navneet Rana had to say.
You know, you talk about Jai Shri Ram and you talk about the Hanuman Chalisa, and suddenly we see Akbaruddin Owaisi of the AIMIM going to Aurangzeb's mazar and praying there and then talking about that. What kind of politics are we seeing in our country, and what's happening in Maharashtra?
See, somebody who comes to Maharashtra and Aurangzeb ki mazar pe he is going and he is praying. I think Aurangzeb in Maharashtra, Maharashtrian people, we believe in Sambhaji Maharaj. We pray for him. He's a Maharaj, he's a goddess for us, and we believe in him. Anybody comes from any other state and comes to Maharashtra and he shows his power, that only works in Uddhav Thackeray's government. This never happened before in Maharashtra, sir. और हमारे महाराष्ट्र में ये आगे से होने नहीं देंगे. जिसको हम मानते हैं, जिसको भगवान मानते हैं, उसके दुश्मन के कब्र पे जाके अगर कोई फूल चढ़ाता है, हार चढ़ाता है, तो ये महाराष्ट्र की जनता उसे बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगी. अगर उद्धव ठाकरे इज गॉट दैट मच गट्स, ही शुड ब्रेक हिम. अगर यही बाला साहब ठाकरे रहते तो उसी मजार के अंदर, उसी कब्र में उस व्यक्ति को गाड़ के दिखाते कि हिंदुत्ववादी और छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज को मानने वाले लोग आज भी महाराष्ट्र में जिंदा है, एंड दैट उद्धव ठाकरे हैज नॉट स्पोकन अ सिंगल वर्ड ऑन दिस, एंड ही इज टेलिंग क्या जरूरत है, व्हाई औरंगाबाद नेम शुड बी चेंज टू संभाजी महाराज.
What is your take on that?
See, that's what
should
I'm
Aurangabad be called Sambhaji Nagar?
Yes, Sambhaji Nagar, it should be changed. It should, and it has to, and it will in future. That is, I'm saying on television, sir. We believe in Sambhaji Maharaj, we don't believe in Aurangzeb. The enemy of Maharashtra, we don't believe in them. और ये नाम change होना चाहिए. इनके ही एजेंडे में था. They have only spoken कि we'll change this name to Sambhaji Maharaj, and yesterday he's talking on this stage.
So who inherits Balasaheb Thackeray's legacy? Is it Uddhav Thackeray? Is it Raj Thackeray? Or do we now see Navneet Rana also make an entry? You're also praising Devendra Fadnavis. So is there now like a big fight to inherit Balasaheb's legacy?
See, I'll tell you one thing, talking about Devendra ji, the way he took Maharashtra in 5 years, the progress has done by Devendra ji, it's unbelievable. Nobody has dreamed about it. In that 5 years, so much progress has done by Devendra ji. Still, he's working so hard, dedicated to Maharashtra. I'm always there with him. People who works good for Maharashtra, we both, Ravi ji and we both, stands with him. And if you talk about Thackeray's family, yesterday he spoke on Sabha rally, कि somebody is getting dream of Bala Saheb Thackeray in his dream. He's thinking कि Bala Saheb has come in his dream and he'll become like Bala Saheb and all. And he spoke about Munna Bhai MBBS. If you remember that movie, sir, yeah. Sanjay Dutt's movie, it is very appealing, and we saw that movie when we were not this age. And we saw that movie, and yesterday when he was talking on that, कि उनके सपने में आता है, मुझे लगता है सपना सच भी हो जाता है. And Munna Bhai MBBS was a super hit movie. अगर आज उनको सपने में अगर बाला साहब आ रहे हैं तो वो हिट ना हो जाए इसकी चिंता जरूर करनी चाहिए उद्धव ठाकरे ने. आप तो फ्लॉप हो ही, you are in a flop position. If his dream becomes true, then you will come into that disastrous line. You should think about that. What is the problem between you and between them?
The Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb was the most controversial one in his entire dynasty. 3 centuries after he died, he still remains a controversial character, despised for his oppressive rule. It is more apparent in Maharashtra, where he spent most of his life fighting and protecting his empire against Marathas. Here is a look at the past controversies over Aurangzeb that dotted Maharashtra politics from time to time.
It's no mausoleum. It's an open-air grave of the 6th Mughal Emperor, Alamgir Aurangzeb, who ruled over almost the entire Indian subcontinent for nearly half a century. When he died in the military camp of Bhingar, fighting the Marathas in 1707, his last instruction was to lay him without any opulence in a simple open-air grave. Aurangzeb's mortal remains were taken to the Sufi shrine of Sheikh Burhanuddin Garib in Khuladabad, more than 130 kilometers away from Bhingar. Within almost a decade of Aurangzeb's death, the Maratha Empire spread and a successor was restricted within Delhi. The war between Maratha pride and the Mughal emperor they despised most rages on even 3 centuries after Aurangzeb's death. Aurangabad city, where Alamgir's grave lies, was named after him by the Mughal emperor's decree. Shiv Sena, after winning the municipal election of 1988, announced renaming the city after Shivaji's son, Sambhaji. 7 years later, in 1995, the corporation passed a resolution to do so. Shiv Sena-led government of Maharashtra issued a notification seeking suggestions and objections from people on this. It was challenged in the High Court by then AMC corporator Mushtaq Ahmed, but the plea was dismissed by the court, stating that no decision had been taken. Nearly 3 decades have passed, but the renaming of Aurangabad as Sambhaji Nagar remains a contentious issue and resurfaces ahead of every election. In 2015, a Shiv Sena MP abused an officer on duty on camera by calling him Aurangzeb ki aulad, or a descendant of Aurangzeb. The officer concerned raised some tempers during a demolition drive based on High Court orders and sanctioned by the district collector in Aurangabad. In March 2020, the current Aghadi government of Maharashtra cleared a proposal to rename the Aurangabad airport as Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj Airport. But this still awaits a green signal from the centre. In this controversial city that today sits at the heart of Maratha pride, representing the oppressive rule of the 6th and the most powerful Mughal regent Aurangzeb, the AIMIM has stepped in with a clear intention to rake up more muck and benefit from it in the coming electoral battle. Bureau Report, India Today.
When Shiv Sena needed to spread its footprint beyond Mumbai and its suburbs, Aurangabad was the place that Balasaheb chose. The city and the district rekindles century-old rivalry between Marathas and the Mughals, and Aurangzeb in particular. The last most powerful Mughal emperor was the most sworn enemy of the entire Maratha community. Centuries later, scores are still not settled. Balasaheb wanted to rekindle it to consolidate his political base on the name of Hindutva. Decade after his death, when his son and nephew, along with others, are fighting to lay claim over his legacy. Aurangzeb and Aurangabad is right in the heart of this legacy war.
The city of Aurangabad has been capital of different dynasties at different points of time. Starting from the Satavahanas to Mughals, the name and exact territory has changed over and over again, but it nonetheless remained an important power capital. But it was the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb who is credited with the maximum development of the city.
Probably every mohalla or every lane and by-lane of Aurangabad has some marks and vestiges of heritage of Aurangzeb's period, and some of them are very beautiful, which still exist.
Aurangzeb named the city after himself and made it his main launching pad for all his Deccan wars. He was engaged in war with 5 other Muslim-ruled southern principalities of the time and the Marathas. During 49 years of his rule, he was able to annex nearly all except the western Maratha region.
He won some battles he also lost. Till the end he did fight, but somehow probably he never completely won a victory against the Marathas.
Aurangzeb was old and ailing, but he was still based in the military camp near Bhingar when he died. He left clear instructions for burial.
His will to be buried somewhere near the preceptor, that was Hazrat Zainuddin Shirazi, who was the spiritual guide of Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb had specifically willed that he should be buried in Khuldabad, very close to or in the near neighborhood of Zainuddin Shirazi.
It was later renovated and stands as a major tourist attraction for the city. Even after Aurangzeb's death, Marathas were never able to forgive or forget his oppressive rule. Centuries after his death, in independent India, in search of its identity, Maharashtrians aligned with Maratha pride and the enmity with the Mughal emperor resurfaced. Balasaheb Thackeray of Shiv Sena worked to ignite it. In the mid-80s, when Shiv Sena needed to spread beyond Mumbai and its suburbs, Balasaheb picked up Aurangabad as his chosen ground. The city was part of the Nizam Shahi in the Mughal era, which later became Hyderabad Principality in British rule. Aurangabad was never part of the Maratha Empire. Balasaheb wanted to win it. His fiery speech in Aurangabad, targeting the loudspeakers used in the mosques and street namazes, won him the municipal elections in 1987.
ज्या दिवशी माझं सरकार या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये येईल त्यावेळेला रस्त्यामधले नमाज आम्ही पडल्यात बंद केल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही. कारण धर्म असा असावा लागतो की तो राष्ट्र विकासाच्या आड येता कामा नये, लोकांना त्याचा उपद्रव होता कामा नये. आमच्या हिंदू धर्माचा कुठे जर कोणाला उपद्रव होत असेल त्यांनी मला येऊन सांगावं, आम्ही त्याचा बंदोबस्त करायला तयार आहोत. लाऊडस्पीकर मशिदीवरचे खाली येतील, बंद.
In 1989, Shiv Sena won the Aurangabad Lok Sabha seat. Despite more than 30% Muslim population, Aurangabad has since been a Shiv Sena bastion. More than 3 decades later, another round of local body elections are set to take place in Maharashtra. Bala Sahib has passed on his baton to his son Uddhav Thackeray. Shiv Sena is in power in Maharashtra with the Congress and NCP alliance. BJP, that has ruled Maharashtra in alliance with Shiv Sena till the last assembly elections, has now found a new ally in Bala Sahib's nephew Raj Thackeray and his MNS.
तुम्हाला जो काही नमाज पडायचा आहे, तुम्हाला जी काय अजान द्यायची घरामध्ये द्या, आणि जर सांगून जर समजा तुम्हाला समजत नसेल की हे भोंगे खाली उतरवा, तुम्ही आम्हाला विनाकारण त्रास देऊ नका, हे जर नीट सांगून समजत नसेल तर तुमच्या मशिदीच्या बाहेर आम्ही हनुमान चालीसा लावणार म्हणजे लावणार.
From a rally in Aurangabad, Raj Thackeray has declared his war against his cousin and the current Chief Minister, Uddhav Thackeray. It's a war to stake claim to Bala Sahib's legacy and to consolidate Maratha vote that has traditionally aligned with Shiv Sena. And the road to victory in this war lies through Aurangabad. The politics of polarization that promises electoral victory this time round in Maharashtra seems to have the centuries-old dead Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb in its heart.
Aurangzeb has been in controversy in the capital city as well. Aurangzeb Road has been renamed as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Road. Not so long ago, there was a clamour to rename Aurangzeb Lane as well. But his name doesn't play as a big role here in the national capital as it does in Maharashtra. It's election time. Maharashtra will be a fertile ground for electoral politics over the next few months for several local body elections. Aurangzeb would be in the center of this war, the political war. That's all we have for this special edition